Alright, so I'm gonna do a storytime video. I've been wanting to make another storytime video, but I haven't really known actually what to do it on. Don't mind my face. I have no makeup on whatsoever. It's actually late at night, and I'm probably gonna go to bed after this. But, so this storytime is gonna actually be, my catfish story, which I actually know a lot of other YouTubers have made one, and, it's kind of weird to see how many of us have actually had, like, a catfish type situation. So mine's a couple years old, and all the dates and everything I don't actually remember. But, so basically, I was probably, like, 14 years old when it started. I was on MySpace, and I used to do this thing. It was, like, it was called role-playing, and we used to be, like, you know, celebrity faces and just make our own storylines, and it was fun. It was something to pass time, and, you know, there was a whole community of us. Well, the account that I had, I was talking to, I had some actual friends on there that, like, we would talk, like, our actual people, like us. So, throughout it, I actually met this guy, named Chase, and we hit it off very, very well. We started talking every day and all the time. And he was a little bit older than me, but that was okay. He was really, really nice, and we seemed to get along great. Some things happened, and we ended up, you know, that was that. We stopped talking. It was kind of more like my decision. I kind of walked away from him. A couple months later, I realized, like, I was stupid, and I really liked him, and so I ended up getting back in contact with him. So I got back in contact with him, and, you know, we were talking again, and it was great. We really did like each other. I also, at the time, was talking to his best friend, Matt, and, you know, all of us, we had a really good time talking. Time came, and me and Chase, you know, we decided we wanted to date, and I was okay with that. I was like, you know, he, at the time, lived in, I want to think, I know he lived in different states. He lived in California, Texas or something, or Matt lived in Texas. They lived in, like, different states, so it's hard to remember. So then one day, Matt came to me and said, you know, there's been an accident. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he had told me that Chase had gotten into an accident with his father and his brother, like a car accident, and he was okay from it, like, he was fine. But when he was in the hospital, they found cancer in his knee. So he was being treated for that, and he was going through treatment for the cancer and everything. Through all this, though, me and Chase talked, and, you know, it all brought us closer together. We were, you know, inseparable. I had tried multiple times to get him to call me, and there was always an excuse, like, I can't call you, because I don't have a phone currently, I can't pay the bill, so I don't have a phone. I was like, well, why can't you use someone else's phone? Oh, well, they won't let me call the long distance, like, I haven't really told anybody about you, like, so there was always an excuse for that, and I tried even video chatting, oh, well, I don't have a cam. I offered to send him a cam, and it still wasn't. So that was always a real big concern of mine. But, you know, he would always talk to me. He would constantly talk to me, which was nice. And our connection just seemed great. He would write me long messages. I would write him long messages. We seemed to have a great relationship, even though it was, you know, over the computer. So as the years went on, we dated for about 4 years. And things were going fine. Then it started to be, he would disappear for like a month at a time. Or 2 months at a time. But then he'd come back and I'd still be there waiting. Stupidly, but I'd still be there waiting. And I'd always question him, like, where have you been? Oh, well, I was in the hospital and I was here, I was there, I didn't have internet service. He was now living in Colorado at the time. And it never seemed to add up, but at the time I was too into him to really see that. I still tried to get him to call me. And one night he actually said he was going to call me from his brother's phone. And then he never came back online and never called me. And so this happened for about 6 years altogether. Then it came to a point where he left, like, went offline and never came back on. I didn't hear from him. And I was sending him messages, and I was, you know, like, what the hell, like, what is going on? So I basically sent him a final message, and I'm like, well, I guess since, you know, you're not coming on, we're done. Like, I'm not waiting around. This is ridiculous. Like, I love you, but I won't do this to myself anymore. That's about when I started dating my ex. And literally probably 3 days after I started dating my ex, I get a text message from an unknown number. And this is probably like, Chase literally probably wasn't online for like a good almost year at this point. And then 3 days after I start dating my boyfriend, he comes, I get a random text from a number. And I answer the text, and he goes, it's Chase. And I'm like, you're texting my phone? Like, what? And he goes, yeah, I still had your number. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, where have you been for all these months? Like, what is going on? And he's like, oh, well, I was moving. I didn't have internet. And I just got a phone back. And I'm like, what? Like, I didn't understand any of it. I was like, are you kidding me? So that night I was like so confused. I was at the bar when he texted me. I was waiting for my boyfriend. I was like, what is this? Like, I don't understand. So as confused as I am, I'm like over it. I'm just like, no. So I, you know, told him, I'm like, I have a boyfriend. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, you were gone. I'm like, we're done. And he was really mad, to say the least. But, I mean, it was the right thing to do because I had a boyfriend and I was happy at the time. And so he didn't contact me for a while. And throughout my relationship, you know, whenever me and my boyfriend would get in a fight, I'd text Chase once in a while. And he'd be like, oh, well, don't you have a boyfriend? And I'd be like, yeah, be quiet. I told him, I'm like, you know, I'll always love you, but as for right now, like, I have a boyfriend and I'm happy and I'm not going to screw that up. So, once me and my ex broke up, I was thinking about it and I'm like, you know, I wonder if Chase coming back in the beginning was a sign that I should have never been with my boyfriend because of how I got treated in my last relationship. So then I started doing, like, light searching, and I'm like, you know, I Googled the number, and it was a Google number, apparently. So it wasn't, like, a number I could call. Then I ended up losing the number, so now I don't have the number anymore, which is a dumb thing on my part. Because this was a few months ago that I did this all. And while I was with my ex, actually, a lot of my friends are like, well, if you have his number and, you know, all this, you should be trying to get a hold of Catfish. And so I've applied to Catfish multiple times, because I think the only way to actually get to meet him would be through Catfish. And ultimately meeting him would be probably the best thing for me. I was in love with this kid for like 6 years of my life, and I don't know. I don't know. I can't say like he was real or he wasn't. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where, you know, you could trust what you feel, but ultimately you just don't know. And unless I was to meet him, I would never know. I could go on for the rest of my life and never know if he was real or not. I mean, I consider him my first real love, but I don't know who I was in love with. I mean, was I really in love with a person, or was I in love with an idea? So, I mean, the internet's a scary place. You can fall in love with anybody, or the idea of anybody. But sometimes, even if it is an idea, I mean, I'm not a stupid person. I'm not. And I fell in love with an idea for 6 years. And that's just how it went. And that was a great 6 years. I was happy for them 6 years with him. Or with that idea, whatever it was. So, I mean, would it be nice to know? Definitely. I don't think I ever will, but I'm still hoping one day maybe Catfish will read my message. But yeah, so that was my Catfish experience. Make sure to like and subscribe, and check out my links down below. Alright, thank you guys.